morning, everyone. Welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio, and we have a great friend and repeat David Navazio, COO of Gentell. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. I actually thought I was banned from the studio from the last time.
Why? What did you do? You didn't do anything
No,
bad.
but I'll tell you what, I really love this. I love talking to you, and I love talking to, someone else that's here but not here. Kind of reminds me of talking to my brother-in-law.
You have a great story. You really do. You're for me, I know we're friends through Rotary, the Rotary Club of Trenton, but you're an inspiring personality. You're running a successful business, obviously, several, but you've had some failures in life, and I really want to talk about that. And as an entrepreneur, one of the tough things about running a business is that a lot of people don't see the fact that we fail a lot. And you've had your share, right? And I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I don't like to call them, failures. I would call them, barriers that are increasingly hard to penetrate. You always get barriers, and you always have to, go through them. And sometimes, they're a little bit harder to get through.
Yeah.
In my situation, we built up a good business, but in healthcare, you're reduced to a series of procedure codes and a series of ICD-10 codes.
Yep.
And that's healthcare. That's all of healthcare. And you have almost a single payer system, or at least one insurance company, in the case Medicare, is responsible for a lion's share of payments. Mm-hmm. Whenever there's program changes, it can disrupt those payments. So when you look at an obstacle, one of the huge obstacles is always cash flow. It's always money.
Yeah.
So when the benefit ends, then you do two things. You look, and in my case, I saw tremendous value of what we were doing.
Yeah.
So we had to fight to change that.
Right.
But during that time of, there's no reimbursement coming in, or there's money not coming in.
Yeah. Sure.
And then before you know it, you're broke.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're not paying bills. Before you know it, you're not paying taxes. I love that commercial with the credit card company, and it's got the flower shop or the small restaurant, and it says, we're your partners, and we're your partners. We're here to help make your dreams come true.
Not when you're broke.
What a crock-a-donkey crap. That is so far from
true.
being
You're
truthful. Right. But in those situations, you have to do what you have to do. First off, you have to be committed.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, maybe you can run and let me just go get a job and forget about your life work or your life dream.
Yeah.
Or you decide that you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
you're gonna make it right.
Right.
And it's almost like that movie Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
They're running out of oxygen. They have to concentrate on what they have, not what they don't have, not what they really need to make it happen.
Right.
But you have to concentrate on the tools that you have.
Yep.
And then you have to figure out, what do you do? Well, what do you do when you don't have money, you don't have a staff?
Yeah.
I mean, the story gets you only so far.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
A promise gets you a little bit further.
Yeah.
Then after that, you need the cash.
You need the money, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you lose those tools. So if you think you want to be a national company, it's hard being a national company when you don't have any employees.
Yeah.
At that particular time, I decided to, evaluate what I had, what we had, and decided to brand. To brand, our products, to brand our dressings, the Gentell. You use that as an opportunity to say, look, is there a market for what I do? There's another movie. You would think that I watch movies all the time, but I don't. Which is Other People's Money, when Danny DeVito talks about the buggy whip. You can make the best buggy whip, but if nobody's driving buggies, what are you going to do with a buggy whip?
Right, not a lot.
It's the same thing here.
Yeah.
So you evaluate, but I knew there was a market. I knew there was a value. I knew patients were so much better off because of what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it was really easy, to make the decision to move forward. Mm-hmm. The hard part was moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. What during that time, during that difficult time? I don't mean to call it a failure because it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a misstep or
Sure.
something obstacle that you have to overcome. Mm-hmm. But What did you learn about you, David Navazio, and what did you learn about the company as you were going through that difficult stretch?
Probably a lot of things.
Yeah.
The one thing is that, I for myself, I knew I just couldn't get too worked up of the quote failure.
Yeah.
Listen, house was in foreclosure, cars were repossessed. I had no working credit card. We had no money. Thank God, my wife was not, demanding, and I had a good support system. But what I had was no money.
Yeah.
So I was easy to just, not get too overwhelmed, with the failure, because a lot of people, we're like that dishwasher with all the buttons, but everybody hits normal wash.
Right.
Okay? Well, if you start hitting all the buttons, you would be amazed at what the dishwasher can do.
Yeah.
And in my case, it brought things out where I was doing that I never thought I would be able to do.
Yeah.
But everybody has that capability.
Yeah.
They just don't get into a situation, where they need to do it,
Yeah.
Or feel that they can do it.
Right.
I'll tell you, my parents, every day growing up, they used to tell me I was smart. Now, I was clearly, a C student. And the teachers never really said that I was smart.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents always said I was smart. If someone tells you you're smart all the time, you kind of think you're smart.
Right.
So I always felt that I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I didn't want, the failure or the obstacle, to really define what my life was going to be.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier that really means a lot as you're going through stuff like this, and that is a support staff or a support system. And you mentioned your wife and your daughter and everything, and that support system was there when you were going through that tough time, and I would imagine they're still here.
Well, my daughter was born just as things were turning around.
Okay.
But my support system, and first thing you do is you go to a support system, which is my wife, my father.
Yeah.
My father, retired from his job, and he worked, for me for free.
Yeah.
And helped me. My brother, I took on a partner.
Yeah.
And and that was really a great thing to do. So they were the real support staff for everything that we were doing.
Yeah, and they're still there.
Well, my father's not
Father
here.
passed away,
But
unfortunately.
and my brother's retired.
Yeah.
And but my partner's still with me,
Yeah.
and my wife, and I have my daughter.
Yeah, that's great. When you, as I said, entrepreneurs, you go through tough times. You go through tough times in life, and where'd you find that inner strength to persevere? You've got this company that's successful, then all of a sudden things shift, and you said that you're kind of without everything, right? You don't have much of anything at that point, and you're thinking to yourself, well, where did I go wrong, and what did I do here? How'd you find what was inside you to keep moving forward?
I wanted a life. I wanted the life that I felt that I could have. Not that I was entitled to, because we're entitled to basics.
Yeah.
But I wanted a life. I wanted a company. This is what I dreamt. That my life was going to be like, and I didn't want anything to stop it. Now, to be honest, sometimes it gets further than you can really comprehend. But I'll tell you an interesting story. I had an attorney of mine who was in the 12-step program.
Yeah.
And every now and then he would take out this green card and he would read it and put it back in his pocket. So I said, what is that? And he goes, well, it's part of the 12-step program. And he showed it to me. And I had him get me a copy, because I have to tell you, that probably gave me more insight, more motivation than anything. And really it talks about, first thing you have to do is don't waste time. Don't waste time on blaming. Don't waste time on pointing fingers. Accept responsibility. Start working on a plan. Develop a plan, and do it one day at a time.
Right.
And some days, listen, I would get up and my whole goal was to get through the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when the day ended, I felt like I succeeded.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay? And then you take another day, and then hopefully things come along, and then you can do some planning.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like in Rotary where we think about 5 years from now. We may be thinking about one day.
One day at a time. And,
one day at a time.
That 12-step program is, to me, that is a life lesson program.
Oh,
It's not
absolutely.
It's not about AA. It's not about,
Sure.
addiction. It's about, it's about life.
It's about life, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was hugely, helpful to me, that mentality.
Yeah. As I said when we first sat down, David, you are inspiring to someone like me. I'm an entrepreneur, and you get through stuff like that all the time that people don't see. But today, Gentell is a pretty big company, a pretty decent sized company. You employ a lot of people, and you deserve a lot of credit for persevering and bringing on your partner and having a support system like you have. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Gentell and some of that success that you're enjoying now as a result of going through some of those missteps in the past. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors.
Rock. And everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey.
Burlington County College.
Is now Rowan College at Burlington County.
Still the same great faculty.
At a community college ranked top 50 in the nation.
Basically, we earn more and pay less.
RCBC students are accepted at Rowan University after graduation.
And get a bachelor's degree for around $30,000.
Online and Mount Laurel students get a 15% Rowan University tuition discount.
And have many scholarship opportunities.
So you earn more and pay even less.
Rowan College at Burlington County.
Your path to success.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to strengthen our service members? What does it take to let them know that we stand behind them, wherever they are? What does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? And what does it take to prepare them for their future when their service to the nation is complete? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Share a message today at Force.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio, and I have David Navazio with me again from Gentell. We're talking about some great stuff. This is the stuff that makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurs. Go through tough times, have a couple missteps, you learn your lessons. You're figuring that this is not going to happen again because you may be blessed with a set of antennae now that you may not have had before, right? But you come out on the other side and you have a chance to enjoy the fruits of your labor now as a result of that. And I want you to talk about that for a minute, David, because going through a tough stretch like that, right, where you have nothing, and people can't understand that until they go through that.
Sure.
But today, tell us what Gentell is and what you've created with your partner, Fred.
Sure. What we do is we ostensibly, help manage the wound care program in nursing homes across the country. And then we do that by providing a clinical staff, education, series of programs, along with a Gentell branded product that actually, treats the chronic wound conditions.
Yeah. So you're helping patients every day.
Tremendous. This is, Mark, I think I told you last time, and I don't really want to repeat it again, but That's the whole great thing of what we do.
Right.
So thousands of patients are better off because we do what we do.
Right.
There is no company that provides the value to a nursing home like Gentell.
Like Gentell does. So you go back to that spot where you've got nothing and you've got no employees and you got nothing to today where you employ over 100
Sure,
people.
Sure. The
right?
spot, I'll tell you the spot, you know, a dark day. It was, I'll never forget, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, tossing and turning. And I'm a pretty good sleeper, so even during bad times, because I was like, you know, like a vacation from all drama was sleeping. I woke up, I remember I went down on the sofa, and I said, I have nothing. I have nothing. Nothing is working.
Yeah.
Nothing is going my way.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a complete, you know, disaster. You know, what in the world am I going to do? I've got no credit. I've got nothing. You know, to even get a job, you got to have credit. Even to get an apartment, you got to have credit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what am I going to do?
Right.
And then, you know, I woke up and I said, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going and just, I have no answers, and just assume at some point answers will happen.
Yeah.
Well, answers slowly happen. You know, we developed a brand, we started getting customers, and then as years went on, we decided it was a good opportunity years later. You know, we recognized probably almost 5 years ago that it was a good opportunity to go back in to, you know, billing insurance companies, serving nursing homes, really providing the continuity of care and the whole spectrum of care, you know, that is the Gentell Total Solution.
Yeah.
And that's when things really started, you know, to turn around. And as money came in, you know, here's the thing, you know, when you're a small company and when you're just starting out, you can't invest in personnel. You don't have the money.
Right.
So, you know, you're just hiring people that you can hire.
Right.
But the bigger companies get bigger because, you know, you're able to afford better personnel.
Yeah.
And it gets you to where you're going, you know, a little bit faster. I have a dynamic staff.
Yeah.
That's what's really great, you know, about the company. So when I'm like sitting here, it's like I'm almost embarrassed. I mean, you're saying, well, it's not me. It really is a whole team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, and we hire really the very best, I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, one person we even hired from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, through your recommendation.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, these are all the things that make, you know, a great company. So when I look back, I am amazed.
Yeah.
It's exceeded my expectations, I have to tell you, and it has given me a lifestyle that, you know, I've dreamed of.
Yep.
And I don't take it, you know, for granted. I know that, you know, there's always barriers that you can hit again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you know, it's those barriers that really do define us.
Yeah.
You know what I learned, Mark? People love leaders.
Yeah.
They really love leaders. They crave leaders. And you know, leaders not, you know, sitting behind a desk shouting orders. A leader's the ones that confront these barriers, confront these problems, okay, and push through them.
Absolutely.
That's what the leader does.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, you're a humble guy, but you're very inspirational because you've come from that spot, and now you've got this business as a leader, and it's always the staff. It's always everyone.
Sure.
As I said earlier, it's the support staff that was there to prop you up when things were not going well. And now that you've got 115 or so employees, you've got a great staff, you've got great partners, you've got great people throughout the organization.
Sure.
And you mentioned earlier that no one really does what Gentell does. I want you to just, why are you so different? Why do you think you're such a different organization?
Well, I mean, I can't answer that. I can just tell you that we are because, you know, what we do is we manufacture and we brand products.
Yeah.
And we also provide these products, you know, as part of our, you know, total solution. So it gives a whole spectrum, you know, of care.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, following, you know, the whole Gentell brand. So everything we do is under the Gentell name.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a 30-year-old David Navazio?
I would tell him to try to exercise more and lose weight. But, you know, my advice to a 30-year-old David Navazio would be, listen, money, you can have it. You don't have it. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't have it.
Yeah.
But what you never get back is time.
Yeah.
Okay, time is finite. Make it count.
Yeah.
Make whatever time that you have, and make it something that's you're going to be passionate about, something that's going to, really, make you get up in the morning and keep going. And listen, this life isn't for everybody. This entrepreneur life is not for most people.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, just recognize that when the day is done, when we're sitting in that nursing home rocking chair, and we look back, we want to make sure that it was a life that was really worth living.
Worth living, yeah. How about for a young entrepreneur? What kind of advice would you give an entrepreneur starting out a business?
I would tell him to make sure that there's a market for what you want to do. Make sure that there are customers that want what you want, what you're selling, and make sure that they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
If all of that, make sure there's relevance. You got to have relevance.
Yeah.
And then make sure you have the passion. You have the passion and willing to do anything and everything to succeed. And if you don't have that passion, and if you don't have that desire, and if you're not willing to hit all those buttons on the dishwasher, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it, because it's never going to work.
Yeah. A lot of stress that's involved with running a business and entrepreneurship, isn't there?
Well,
and it's lonely sometimes.
Oh, of course it's lonely. Absolutely, it's lonely. And that's why you really want to have a partner. You want to get a good partner, because that, takes away, some of the loneliness. In fact, you've got somebody to cry with, and you've got somebody to celebrate with.
Right.
And, sometimes you're celebrating something so insignificant, but it's, it's a movement in a positive, direction. So, those things are all important. But, for an entrepreneur, it's not for everybody. But if it is for you, then you got to make sure you have it, make sure you're hitting all those buttons, and you're gonna keep pushing through, because you will have barriers.
Absolutely.
Everybody has barriers, different types of barriers. Maybe not as, as hard as the barriers I had to overcome, but there are barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. Over your career, I'm sure you've been inspired by people.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they, and what sort of things inspire you?
I don't, inspiration, I mean, my father always inspired me.
Yeah.
I wanted, my father inspired me of having good character, of doing right. And he used to always say, just make sure the world's better off because you're here. Mm-hmm. And that was always an inspiration. I was inspired by, the 12-step program was great inspiration for me.
Yeah.
Just seeing people and just, and hearing stories of people overcoming similar issues, I always felt, to be inspiring. But, more than that, again, it was really the life that I envisioned for myself.
Yeah.
And wanted that life.
Yeah.
I thought about it when I was a kid. I felt, one day I was going to have, a nice car, a nice house, and I was going to, have, people that respected me, and that was the life I wanted, and that was my inspiration, and I really felt, that I could do that.
Yeah.
I could achieve that.
So looking back now, and you've had Gentell for quite a number of years. You look back, and you've accomplished a lot of those goals.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But the other, and then I've been reading lately about autobiographies, leadership, great people in history.
Yeah.
And I find that everybody has barriers. They all had barriers. We don't know about them because we see them as successful human beings. But every successful person has an interesting story.
Yeah.
Has a story that is very similar.
Yeah. Well, yours has been incredibly inspirational to me, and the story has been fascinating.
Thank you.
It's provocative. You've done a great job with you and your partner and your support team and your staff. And I love having you on the show. Welcome you back anytime.
Thank you.
If you just tell everyone how to get in touch with you and Gentell,
Sure.
that would be great.
Sure. My name again is David Navazio at Gentell, and we are at www.gentell.com, 215-788-2700.
All right. David, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being with me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about, Rainmakers Roundup. Great story from David Navazio, taking a business to where he was from some pretty difficult times. So that's inspirational to me. Have a great week, everyone. Be safe. We'll see you next week on Rainmakers Roundup.